Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chatham House. I'm Robin Niblett, Director of the Institute. It's my very great pleasure to welcome you all here today, but especially to welcome His Excellency Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire. We are delighted that he would be able to join us today. Chatham House has had a long history of working on issues in West Africa and Côte d'Ivoire. The head of our program, in fact, Alex Vines, was a chairman of the UN expert group on Côte d'Ivoire back in the mid-2000s. But what makes this, I think, an especially interesting and historic meeting for me to be able to welcome the President at is that this is actually the 50th anniversary plus maybe 50 days, of the speech given here in 1962 by the former President, Félix Houphouët-Boigny, who spoke here in 1962, June the 7th, about 2 years after the independence of Côte d'Ivoire. As I was saying earlier, you can't often use the word historic, but I think when you have a 50th anniversary, you probably can. And so we're especially pleased, Mr. President, that you could come and join us today and be able to share your thoughts with us on the topic we'll be discussing in a minute, stability and economic prosperity in West Africa, Côte d'Ivoire's contribution. President Ouattara, I think, is known to you all here. He was sworn in as President of Côte d'Ivoire in May 2011. He had served as Prime Minister between 1990 and 1993. He had served earlier at the IMF as Director of Africa, then as a Deputy Managing Director. He was Governor of the Central Bank of States of West Africa. And now, currently, since he became President of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, he is Chairman of the West Africa's regional bloc, ECOWAS. I think he is especially well placed, not just given his political experience, his experience at the IMF, his experience at the Central Bank, to really be tackling, I think, the key challenge these days for not only Côte d'Ivoire, but other states across the whole sub-Saharan African continent, which is the question of economic development, the ability to take advantage of the great opportunities that are emerging right now in Africa. This is perhaps a different story to the kind of stories that were told back 50 years ago, Mr. President. So we're especially pleased that you could be here with us. I can't give you a copy of the original speech, because this is the only one we have, with some handwritten notes by President Houphouët-Boigny, but I'm pleased that my colleagues in the Africa Programme have prepared for you this rather nice copy of the original one, which I would like to give to you and then invite you to come up and give your remarks.
This is a beautiful one. Thank you very much. But I can keep the original.
I'm going to hold on to the original. It looks original, though. Mr. President.
It really looks original. It's so beautiful. Hello.
Over to you to make your remarks.
This is in French or in English?
It's good. Both. Hopefully both, I hope. I hope it has. Yes, in both.
Yes, it's English and then French.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay. Excellencies, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like first to thank Dr. Robin Niblett and Mr. Alex Vines for giving me this opportunity and being here today in this prestigious institution of this great country, the UK. And I've been asked to share my views with you on with prosperity and economic stability of West Africa and the contribution of my country, la Côte d'Ivoire. Well, first of all, this is an anniversary for us because, of course, Félix Houphouët-Boigny, our first president, was here 50 years ago. As you're probably aware, I was his unique and first Prime Minister, and I had the privilege of working under his leadership for more than 3 years. He was a great statesman, and we really loved him. So this is really an honor for me to address you today. And this conference is taking place at a critical juncture in the history of the world. Some say that a new world is emerging. Have they put my mic on?
No, that's right. It's picking up there.
No, but here, I'm not sure they switch it on.
No, you can hear it, yes. The mic's on. Yep. Everyone can
Why
hear.
do we have this?
It's all right. You're covered.
No, but if I don't need it, why?
No, you need it. It's there. Otherwise, we won't be able to hear you.
No, because when he put it on,
Yeah.
he said he'll switch it on later.
That's what he's done. Let's see. They're very. Our AV people are perfect. They're hiding behind that black window there, keeping an eye on you.
I like to understand everything.
We have prime ministers who've made the mistake of not knowing when their microphone is on and off, so we want to make sure that we always make sure that we only switch it on when you come in the room.
Okay, so I'm covered. Okay, thank you. So, well, some say that a new world is emerging with the rise of new superpowers and the increasing role of emerging countries in international relations and transactions. A new map of balance of power is being drawn up, calling for a strengthening world governance that should better reflect the new realities of today's world. And I can confess to you that when I was leaving the IMF, my position as Deputy Managing Director in July 1999, my address to the board was to say that the world is changing and that I'm not sure that the IMF was taking prospect of this change and that the institution had to take into account these new realities which will be more and more visible in the future. So somewhere this is what we're witnessing today. So we are witnessing a new continental drift, but not as it is usually understood. Instead of drifting away from one another, our continents are in fact drawing closer together thanks to international transactions and new technologies. And today, in part due to the internet, a new generation is on the rise. A generation of citizens of the world aspiring to more liberty, more freedom, I should say, more justice, and more equity. As the Arab Spring and the Wall Street movement have amply demonstrated recently. But it is also a world characterized not only by the globalization of trade and financial transactions, but unfortunately by illicit transactions, terrorism, and the trafficking of human beings. Under this new paradigm, the voice of Africa needs to be heard as the events unfolding on this rising continent will surely have a profound impact on tomorrow's world. The security of the Western world is increasingly dependent on the security and the development of Africa, while the emerging Asian countries are increasingly dependent on its vast natural resources, including its yet untapped agricultural lands. Ladies and gentlemen, in my speech, I would first like to briefly describe a few facts that lead me to think that Africa, of course including West Africa, is on the rise. Then, taking the example of West Africa, I will tell you why I think regional integration is key to its stability and economic prosperity. Before concluding, I will underline the critical role of Côte d'Ivoire as an engine of growth and stability for the West African sub-region. After decades of Afro-pessimism, we are now witnessing a flurry of Afro-optimism. The lions of Africa are catching up to the Asian tigers, while leaving behind a number of South African llamas, as well as a number of Arabian horses galloping in the midst of a Jasmine revolution. In the meantime, Europe is struggling with a